Today, we're going to talk about something that's totally critical for a healthy global economy, but it's a term that gets thrown around a lot and is often misunderstood: business integrity. You can think of it as the invisible architecture, right? The foundation that supports clean, competitive markets and really builds trust with investors. So let's dial in and break down what it really means and why it's so important.
So to really get to the heart of why integrity matters, I want you to just stop and think about this question for a second. What is the real cost of corruption?
Because the price tag, well, it's way higher than any single illegal payment. See, when public trust disappears, investment gets scared off, and economic growth just grinds to a halt. That's the true cost. It creates a rigged game where the best ideas don't win, and that weakens the very fabric of our society.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, it all comes down to this idea of business integrity. And as we're about to see, this isn't about just having a big book of rules. It's a fundamental shift in mindset. It's about moving from just following rules to building an entire culture of doing the right thing. According to the OECD, business integrity is all about a deep commitment to ethics and strong governance. But here's the key part. It isn't just about having rules written down somewhere. It's about creating a proactive culture, one that's always on the lookout for corruption and actively fights against it at every single level of a company.
And this chart really gets to the heart of it. On one side, you've got this reactive, fear-based approach that's just doing the bare minimum to not get caught, right? But on the other side, you've got a proactive, value-based approach that is a real cultural commitment where people do the right thing because they genuinely believe in it, not just because they're afraid of getting in trouble.
Now, of course, building this kind of culture is not a solo mission. For it to really work, you need a genuine partnership between the two key players in this whole ecosystem. You've got the private sector and you've got the public sector. Let's take a look at the role each of them has to play.
So, how does this actually work? Well, for businesses, it all starts with what they call the tone from the top. The leaders have to live and breathe integrity. Then you back that up with real practical things like compliance programs and training. Meanwhile, the government's job is to create the right environment. That means clear laws, for sure, but also, and this is a really interesting shift, offering incentives that actually encourage good behavior instead of just punishing the bad. And when they enforce those rules fairly, it levels the playing field for everybody.
So we've got the principles and we've got the players. But how do they actually put this stuff into practice? Well, thankfully, organizations like the OECD have developed a whole toolkit, a set of frameworks and guides to help make this change happen on a global scale. But what really pushes companies to invest in this? A 2022 survey from the OECD is super revealing. Now, you might think it's all about following the law, but look, legal compliance isn't the biggest driver. The number one reason is protecting their reputation, followed closely by managing risk. And that tells you something huge. In our crazy connected world, a company's reputation isn't just some fluffy PR thing. It is a core business asset. It's incredibly valuable and incredibly fragile. And to help companies protect that reputation, the OECD provides this whole library of really practical tools. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're specific roadmaps for all kinds of organizations, from giant multinationals to state-owned companies, and they cover everything from internal controls to due diligence.
And for governments, the toolkit is all about building that stable, predictable environment we talked about. This includes global standards, like the G20/OECD principles, but it also means promoting something called collective action. This is a really powerful idea where entire industries work together, basically making a pact to raise the ethical bar for everyone. This way, no single company is at a disadvantage for doing the right thing.
Okay, all of this brings us to the payoff. We've talked about the theory, the players, the tools, but what are the real, tangible benefits when a culture of integrity actually takes root? Well, it all boils down to one simple, powerful word: trust. You know, this quote from the OECD just sums it up perfectly. Integrity isn't just about avoiding a fine or staying out of trouble. Companies that truly embrace it see better performance across the board. We're talking economically, socially, and environmentally. It is a massive driver of sustainable success. So when this partnership works, it creates this amazing virtuous cycle. Integrity leads to healthier, more efficient markets. Those healthier markets build investor confidence, which then fuels long-term growth. And that growth happens on a level playing field where competition is fair and transparent for everyone. It just keeps feeding itself. Which leaves us with one last thought to chew on.
In a global economy that's filled with all kinds of risks, from supply chain chaos to political instability, is a deep, genuine investment in integrity actually the single smartest, most strategic decision a business can possibly make? Something to think about.